Hello everyone, I'm Mark Moncrief and welcome to the Melbourne Traditionalists, episode 56. Now today I want to talk about organisation and our future path, what traditionalists and those on the right can actually do to make our cause better and to support our cause and to try and achieve our aims. Now, first things that we have to think about is, first of all, we have to think about ideology. An ideology is, what do we believe and why do we believe it? And the second is politics. And that's, how do we get political power and how do we keep it? The third is policy. What do we want to do with political power once we have it? And what I'm going to concentrate on today is organisation, which is putting it all together along with everything else that is required to achieve our aims. Now, it's important that we work out our ideology. What do we believe? Actually, I think we're probably a little bit stuck on that phase. And we talk about politics a lot, about how to get power and we talk a little bit about policy, what we'll do when we have power, but we don't actually advance very far in those areas. And the reason is because we don't have the organisation. So it's a bit like having a car. You know, we've put petrol in the tank, everything's there except the engine. And organisation is the engine. It's what actually allows us to make everything else work. And we simply don't have that. So that's where I think we really need to concentrate on building organisation. So what should an organisation be about? What should we actually be aiming for? Well, I think one of the things that we do on the right is we aim too high. So, let's take Australia as an example. If a new political party started, it tends to always concentrate on getting a seat in federal parliament, right? Going straight to the top and getting things done. That's really hard. Do you know what's a lot easier? To get someone on the local council. That would not only give us practical electioneering experience, it would not only give us practical political experience, but it would give us practical organisational experience. And let's say that the first 5 years of the party, I'm not talking about organising a party, I'm just using this as an example, but just say the first 5 years was just spent on local government. We didn't contest any other election, and that was our sole or primary focus. We concentrated on the other areas more for propaganda and for recruitment, but we didn't actually involve ourselves very much. Now, people will say, "Oh, that's a lost opportunity," and I disagree. I think we waste too much energy on the higher levels instead of worrying about what we can do at our local level, at the easiest level. Not easy, but the easiest. Because even getting elected to local government is still difficult. But then once we've done that, then maybe we can go for state, try for a state seat, get involved in state politics. And then 5 years after that, so we're at 10 years, we can say, hey, we've got enough experience to actually go for a federal seat or a Senate seat. And then, we can actually broaden our horizons. And what we do today is we actually say, we don't have a strategy. We just have a dream, And then with the dream, we have the magical thinking, which is something we really have to get rid of, that a miracle will occur. But to make all of this happen, we need money. So how do you get money? Well, I talked about this in another podcast, another episode of the podcast, where I said, if you put $10 a week away, that's $520 a year. $10 probably can't do much, but $500 can do something. And if there's 10 people doing that, well, there's $5,000. If there's 100 people doing it, that's $50,000. Small amounts of money add up, but we're not doing that. Nobody's doing that, as far as I know. Actually, I have heard of one group who are doing it, and that's it. But it's not unachievable. But things can't happen without money. You not only need organisation, you not only need dedicated people, but you do need money. You have to pay for office supplies. You have to pay people for petrol money and and things like this. And it may not be a lot of money, because a lot of people will do things for basically free. But if you do get a bunch of volunteers together, it probably doesn't hurt to buy them lunch, even if it is sandwiches or fish and chips or something like that, just to say thank you and to create that goodwill. But of course, as I said, that needs money. So, we need to concentrate a lot more on money. And one of the great myths that we have is that we can only achieve things if we have millions and millions of dollars. Well, we don't have millions and millions of dollars. So we have to make do. We have to do things with less money. And instead of waiting for some mythical right-wing supporter to turn up who's got oodles of money, we need to concentrate on actually trying to achieve smaller objectives, but still achievable objectives. This is the thing, you see the left, and they're actually operating under a lot of constraints as well. We need to accept that we need to operate under constraints and try and do the best with what we have. Now, one of the big issues is also volunteers, actually recruiting people to help out in doing things. And there's two kinds of volunteers, I guess. There's the organizer, someone who's actually prepared to put in the hours behind the scenes. And then there's the foot soldiers, the people who are prepared to come out and do a particular job. They're prepared to hand out leaflets or go and do some type of volunteering to help the cause in some way. A lot of people, I don't know about a lot of people, but more people are interested in, hey, I'll do this, this one thing this year. And then you get the rare jewels who are, I'll put in, I'll be there every meeting every month, willing to put aside the time. A lot of people are prepared to complain, but what we also need to do is something the left does really well, and that is to match the job with the people. So if there's someone who's really keen, get them into the organising committee. Create the organising committee, right? Secondly, then organise the volunteers. And just say you've got someone who's housebound, they've got health problems, or they're a bit older. Get them doing letter writing, right? Get them involved in a campaign that they're interested in, and try and connect everyone together. That's really what an organisation is doing, connecting people together and coordinating their different activities. because this is a big mistake. I think that we concentrate too much on one ticket or one activity, and we need to bring different people together. So, if someone's involved in anti-immigration, we'll support them, but they probably don't want to be involved in the transgender issue, right? So those people who are interested in the transgender issue, support them. But the two don't necessarily need to cooperate with each other if they don't want to, because you can still maintain that friendly relationship. And that's another issue that we have on the right, is we don't spend a lot of time actually making sure that different groups communicate with each other. Everyone tends to get into their little group and then they stay there. Now, the Melbourne Traditionalists have been involved with a number of groups. I'm a member of a number of organisations, and in little ways they help each other. And, I'd prefer it to be more than little ways, but hey, little ways is better than no ways. Here's something that we don't get involved in at all, and that's intelligence work. We rarely know about our opponents. We rarely know who in Parliament is actually a good guy. All that information's available. All we have to do is have somebody whose job it is to collate it and pay attention to it. But we don't do that. Why not? Because we're not organised. We're not organised. But if we were organised, we would actually have not just one person, but a group of people who would pay attention to the left, who would pay attention to the human rights organisations, who would pay attention to the different levels of government and actually pay attention to what they're doing, so that we can actually use that and pass that amongst ourselves. So when we want to launch a campaign, we know the people to talk to. We know the people to target. Either because we want to say nasty things to them, or because we want to get their support. But we will actually know. And we'll know, the person who's on our side when it comes to the immigration issue, and we'll know the person who is on our side in the transgender issue, and those who aren't. Both of those things are important, but often we don't have that information. Policy. There's a line in a movie about the Afghanistan war where a US congressman asks a member of the CIA, what's US policy in Afghanistan? And the CIA man says, me and a couple of guys are working it out. Well, actually, that's how policy happens. A couple of guys work it out. What's our policy? Right? On so many issues, we don't have any policy. We have a wish list. Well, what are the actual principles behind that? Why aren't we articulating that? Well, why don't we actually have a program for that? Because we don't have any organisation. If we had organisation, then we could actually start working this stuff out. Another thing that we need to do is propaganda. If you want to be nice, advertising. We need to get our message out. Now, a lot of people say, hey, we're really good on the internet. That's true. But I feel like it's a river that drains into the desert. It just melts away. Because, again, there's no organisation to direct people to. So, if you want to get someone involved, what are you getting them involved with? It's a big problem. But we also need to be pushing our ideas, and that includes our policies when we have them. Now, I write a lot about policy Upon Hope. Maybe they influence people somewhere. I hope so. Even if it's just their opinions. But it's actually important work to let people know our vision of the future. And that's what it's about. It's about creating the future. One thing that can't be emphasized is letter writing. You know, a lot of pressure comes because of letter writing. And people know that something is popular or unpopular because people write them letters or telephone them in some cases. And by letters, you know, emails are the same thing. But just letting people know that they're not doing work in secret. And when they do a good job, we can congratulate them. And when they're doing a bad job, we can actually let them know that we're not happy. Something that I've already mentioned, but I'll mention again, is coordination. Any organisation needs to coordinate between different groups. It's so important. I've actually seen this. This has actually worked in Melbourne, where different groups are or one group is organising something, and they get together with other groups to actually make it happen. Right? So we're having a rally. All right. Well, now that you've told us, we can tell people, and we can get some people to go along. All right. We're organising a social event. We need people to come along. All right. We can let people know about that. It's also important to coordinate within an organisation, to actually let different groups know what's going on, and to stop them from stepping on each other's toes, and, you know, to be honest, to smooth over feathers that get ruffled from time to time, because that's what people do to each other. They ruffle each other's feathers, whether they mean to or not. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But, you know, and a proper running organisation actually looks after people's feelings without getting in the way of the cause, you know. But we can't, I think it's a big mistake just to trample over people and think that there will be no consequences for that. There are consequences. But at the same time, there are some people who are so disruptive that they should not be involved. And if you need to get rid of people, then you should. And the best thing to do is to vet people right at the very start. This is what we do with the Melbourne Traditionalists. We invite someone contacts us, then we invite them to dinner, and we go out and we have a meal with them. And, you know, sometimes we talk for an hour, sometimes 4 hours. You find out a lot about a person. You find out about whether they will actually fit into your group. You find out whether they really think the same way you do. And our success rate is about 50%. And sometimes that's because they decide that we are not what they're looking for. Actually, in the end, that's a good thing. You don't want people who aren't really interested in what you're selling. And in politics, that's what we are. We're selling an idea. We're selling a future. That's what we should always be pushing. And we also, again, I've talked a little bit about this, we also have to campaign. We have to push the ideas that we have, and that means that we need to always make sure that there are people out there who are pushing our ideas, making sure that they're not just sitting in a drawer, that other people are finding out about them. And sometimes that has to be very public. You know, you want to put it on the internet, or you want to write directly to people and let them know what you're thinking. And sometimes you want it to do it very quietly. It's, you're coordinating again between different groups and saying, hey, are you able to support this? Would you support this? And see what they think. and that will help you decide how you advance. This is a very important thing. Claim victory. Far too often, this is something the left is brilliant at and the right is terrible at. You know, if the left get a victory, it can be 1% of what they ask for. And they'll always say exactly the same thing, whether it's 1%, 50%, 100%. They will always say exactly the same thing. Hey, we've achieved a great victory today, but there's still more to be done. Now, if they achieve 1%, they claim that 1% victory. They claim it, and they proclaim it a great victory. Not, we're pretty disappointed. No. They're always excited that they have achieved this victory. Always. And even when they achieve every single thing that they want, they still say, this is not the end. There's still more to be achieved. There's always more to be achieved. Actually, I think their attitude is the right attitude. What they want is wrong, but the actual attitude is correct. We should always be pushing for further victories. And when we get a victory, claim it. I just hate when we get a victory and we're disappointed with it. It's so frustrating. And another thing that I'll definitely steal from the left is they just don't give up. They just keep going on and on. Even when they get no victory, even when they are defeated, they still come back. They come back and they come back and they come back. And issues that you thought were dead, all of a sudden just spring back to life. And you realize, there's actually an organization behind that. There's actually people who are doing the background work. One of the things that the right often accuse the left of is that they pay their protesters. But actually what they do is they pay their organisers. That's the secret. You actually have a professional amount of organisers. And I would like to get to that stage at some point where our organisers are actually professionals. Now, the left actually rips their organisers off. Maybe we'll do the same, who knows? But I would like to really get to a stage where people are actually paid. That's their job, right? And we can actually say to people, hey, organise this. Today, we're not there at all. But hopefully, we will get there. Well, this is going to be a little bit shorter than normal, but I hope some of this has been of interest, and I hope that some people actually take notice of it and begin to organise. And if you're interested in the Melbourne Traditionalists, then send me an email. And if you're not in Melbourne, then maybe you can set up your own organisation. I'll include a link to an article that I wrote about setting up your own group below in the description box. Well, if you would like to help me, you can go to Subscribestar and sign up as a subscriber. That's one way that we can help organise money. Thank you for listening, and hopefully I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.